Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. This week is going to be Unpopular Requests Week, where we check out some bands that have a very low number of requests. And today we're starting off with Nekrogoblikon. Came requested from Yotam Bronstein, and Some Melon, and I am so sorry about this pronunciation, but Michael Dubasak. I know it's probably so bad. But Some Melon suggested that we need a gimmick or Powercore, and Yotam did not actually have a suggestion for a song. I went with Powercore because I think it sounds pretty cool. And the other one, we need a gimmick. I think it might be an interesting song to listen to, but given the title, I don't want to listen to kind of a one-off. I want to hear more of what the band might be more about. And I'm kind of thinking We Need a Gimmick is going to be sort of a parody song of sorts. So that's probably not a great reason not to pick it first, but without any extra information, that's what we're going on. And so we're going to go with Powercore. And yeah, Nekrogoblikon. Interesting name. Let's get into this. Let's see what we got. Really interesting that I can understand him. Wow, I was not expecting those cleans at all.
You're not the Powercore. You're a fish. Yes, how terrible, it's unbearable. You're just a phony and I want you.
There isn't really much to talk about so far, as well as interesting compositional techniques. Oh man, I love to be proven wrong. That's amazing. I'm not gonna say it's really interesting on the compositional wise, but it's just so left field. I didn't even know there was a keyboardist.
Every time you try to do something right, you seem to get it all so wrong. It's almost like a joke. No one's laughing now. Let's reach the final hour. You were never the core.
I hear the pianist now, the keyboardist. I didn't hear it the first time the chorus came around. All right, this is a good turn here. I'm sure a lot of their fans probably appreciate their heavier sounds, but this part right here, their more melodic elements, I think they have a real knack at creating a unique sound. Not necessarily a unique soundscape, not between the tones and the singing style, but just the combination of everything that's going on. It's almost crazy how catchy this this choruses, it's not anything of what I expected giving the introduction of this song. Yeah, that was delightful. That whew, not anything of what I was expecting given the name of the band. I mean, it's definitely, I don't know, once you get into bands like this, you to me, stuff that's more difficult to pronounce or has harsher sounds to it, or even just replacing what you would typically have as C's. Necro would normally have a C in it, like a necromancer. Um, and even like Goblikon, I always want to say it's Goblikron, like a Necronomicron, and that's always done with a C as well. And they've replaced them with the harder looking K's, even though they have the same sound. The K's just look more coarse. And typically, I would associate something like this with the black and death metal stuff. Just the name. Um, so yeah, I was really expecting something a lot heavier, and especially when we saw the opening riff, and then when we got into the verse, it was more or less in line with what I was expecting. Harsh vocals, uh, almost wall of sound kind of thing is very quickly played. Just lots of heaviness, lots of power, and that chorus came in and dialed it back. And I think what it kind of gives me the same feeling of that kind of not really bait and switch, but just a huge shift from heaviness to basically a hook. It's very catchy. Is Ginger's Teacher Teacher, where it starts out ridiculously heavy, and the first verse also is heavy, and then you get to the chorus though, and it has a lot of almost poppy elements in the vocal line, and the instruments have lightened up a lot to kind of complement the lighter vocals, and it creates this very catchy chorus. It is a very strong hook, and these guys did the same thing. Um, but unlike Ginger, who I enjoyed the entire package, I'm not too sure if I enjoy everything about Nekrogoblikon. Um, the heavy parts don't really click with me, even though I understand what they're going for. To me, it has kind of a generic sound, at least compared to the more melodic elements. I feel like the melodic elements have more of something unique to them to it. I don't know if it's their mixture between the vocals, because the vocals were engineered in a very specific way. There was um, a little. It was not as dry of a. Well, it doesn't sound as dry as most singers would actually, or most engineers would go for a vocal track. Um, it's not necessarily that. I mean, most vocalists are engineered. Their vocal lines are engineered in some way, even if it's just minor alterations to clean it up. But it's always done so in a way that makes it seem drier than it is. It tries to make the vocal track sound more natural. And in this one, I didn't really get that. The vocal track definitely sounded engineered. There's a little bit more reverb to it than I would expect, and the vocal layering definitely implies a backing track, because it was definitely his voice, and there are two uh, vocal notes going on there. I mean, I guess there's also the chance that he's one of the few people who can produce two notes at the same time. Um, I'm not thinking that though. And then of course there was a little bit of the raspiness mixed in there, and I'm sure that was possibly a third track that he did. And then between the vocal lines, there was also a word or two in his raspy singing. So there is a lot of vocal work going on, which is very indicative or very characteristic of pop songs. And I just think it's very interesting to hear a lot of that pop influence in a song that starts out this heavy. But I think that pop influence really elevates the band to being not just another whatever genre the intro and verses. I don't know if that's black metal. I don't know if it's death metal. It's fast. I don't know if there's some subgenre of speed metal that it would fall into. I'm not really well versed into all of metal's subgenres, but the clean melodic sections, even it doesn't even have to be the clean singing, just the more melodic sections, because at the end we ended with a very melodic um, song with those raspy vocals on top of them, and I just think it's a unique sound to them, and it's I kind of don't like that they have such a generic, just hardcore heavy sound that they kind of flip back and forth. I kind of wish that that was a little more unique to them. I think a lot of it though, now that I'm actually trying to figure this out and put it into words, is that keyboard. The keyboard changes everything about the song. And I don't feel like I heard the keyboard during the heavy parts. I don't know if it was just more muted. I don't know if it was um maybe it wasn't even being played. Maybe it's specifically for the more melodic sections, but it creates a very different texture to the entire section that it's in, and it's I don't know, it's good, and it helps elevate a lot of the other things, and I feel like one thing it does well, especially in the more melodic sections, is to increase the width of the soundscape. Because when they're going all in and they're going hard, it's a big sound, and the strings that the keyboard was producing during the verse, I mean during the chorus, aren't really needed as much because the soundscape's pretty full already. But when they get into the more melodic sections, they would probably feel pretty anemic, which is where the keyboards come in, kind of fill that space. But it's pulling double duty because the textures it adds, and I don't know, it creates a very unique sound to Nekrogoblikon, at least to this song, that I'd like to see more throughout the band. I don't know. I don't want to say that the keyboard is the key to being unique, to having their own sound, but I do think it helps a lot. And I don't. It's probably just a coincidence that every time the keyboard comes in, it's when you get more of the catchier aspects of the song. But yeah, I'm sure that's probably blasphemy to a lot of people to say that I want more catchiness in metal. But as far as this song's concerned, I mean, I think the best parts were when they were kind of genre blending and becoming a little catchier and poppier with the interesting rhythmic elements that were happening in the band that were more attributed to the metal aspects. So yeah, though I really expected to come into this and just listen to something that I would not be something that I'm not necessarily interested in, but would be interesting on a technical level, something in the black metal, death metal kind of genre, and I mean that was just a surprise. I'm walking away a fan. I'm gonna have to check out more of these guys. Um, and then of course there's that goblin guy running around. The visual gimmick or visual stick of the band. Not really gonna comment much on that. It doesn't have much to do with the music, and it's not something the whole band participates in. They're just a regular old band with a goblin that runs around as part of the visual flair. So, I mean, it's a cool visual, I guess, but it doesn't have anything to do with the music. But yeah, yeah, great bands. Short song though, 4 minutes. Pretty standard composition technique of verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. The outro was a little different. I don't know if that was a brand new section or if it was repurposed from another part of the song, but otherwise it was pretty standard song flow. But yeah, that's just I'm intrigued. I got to hear more of this. Um, so let me know. There's that we need a gimmick song that I can do, and I think that's the only the only request I had. So if there's any other Nekrogoblikon, I did it without looking. If there's any other Nekrogoblikon songs that you think I should listen to, make sure you put them down there. If you haven't heard of these guys before, what'd you think? Was the chorus too catchy? Was it too poppy for you? Do you need something heavier, or was this actually a really good mix between the heaviness and the more the soft and more melodic elements? You know, let me know while you're down there in the comments. Uh, what's that thing? Oh yeah, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and I will be back tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I got a good schedule. I know this one's coming out a little late, but I think I've got a pretty good schedule to get everything released on time this week. And I have a little surprise for the end of the week. I think we're going to do 2 videos on Friday. So, yeah, and if you want to influence what bands we listen to, what the theming of the week is, like this week is unpopular requests, make sure you check out the Patreon, patreon.com/criticalreactions. It's only a $1 tier. You don't have to pay any more than that. And you get to vote on the bands and the themes that we do. And I'm slowly adding more more cool things that you get for your buck. So if you're interested in that, if you kind of want to have a little more control over what gets reacted to, I have over 400 requests. I think we broke 450 actually this weekend when I checked the comments. Um, it's a big list, and uh, every week we're adding 20 to 30 bands to it. I really don't see any end to this. I'd be surprised if we didn't break 500 bands requested in the next, I don't know, 2 3 weeks. It's really kind of crazy how many bands are out there, especially that I've never heard of. I mean, I'm not too entrenched in metal and rock, but it's just like, wow, there's a lot of stuff out there. So yeah, if you want to have any control, if there's any specific bands that you want to see reacted to, and you kind of want to push those a little more and have a little bit of chance to promote them, uh, that's the best way to do it. And yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. as usual. You guys stay safe and have a fantastic day.